Moon. Here's a big hello. Take it to a guy I know and say I'll be there soon. Milwaukee Moon.
Welcome to Night After Night, a podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Mr. Fernandes, and
I am Chris Jayawardena. Hello.
we're going to review Bus Stop from Season 3 of Laverne Shirley, directed by Alan Rafkin and written by Barry Rubinowitz. And I bet you get some facts about them, don't you, Chris?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of good notes here. So for Barry Rubinowitz, we are now halfway through Barry's run on the show as a writer. He ended up, so originally, I should say, had already worked on Bachelor Mothers, Plain Hooky, and The Stakeout. He has 4 more episodes to go. He would go on to become a consultant writer for Season 4 as well. And his last credit, as we mentioned a few episodes ago, was for the League of Their Own TV series. So that's neat. Way to go, Barry.
Yeah. Good on you, Barry.
And regarding Rafkin, I was going through notes because I've been struggling to find more to discuss about Rafkin.
Yes.
And I found this little tidbit which I thought was amusing. Well, just because we're going to be discussing an occasionally kind of bawdy episode of the show, at least conceptually,
Yes.
Because there's definitely some dialogue that's very suggestive.
Yes.
It's interesting to take note that Rafkin, having worked on this show previously in the 60s, did 27 episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. And had also worked on Andy Griffith so much that he even directed the film An Angel in My Pocket, which in terms of being a safe little family picture, was praised by Roger Ebert for being a safe family film that shows the American democracy succeeding far more than at the time in 1968-69 than it actually was. The funniest thing is, okay, so this already seems amusing enough. Later in the late 90s, when Rafkin was promoting his autobiography, which I'm really curious to read now that I've read more about the guy, he stated in an interview he was told by people not to use Andy Griffith in his resume because it marked him as someone unable to contribute to quote-unquote great television.
Ooh.
And
Nice.
I'm curious what he would say as to this. Now we will get some of his thoughts regarding Laverne Shirley later. But I'm saving that for a different episode because he's still going to be continuing to direct the run. But anyway, that's our Rafkin factoid for today.
That's kind of amazing considering how Andy Griffith's reputation within the television industry has kind of seen a renaissance, and how much people care about the Andy Griffith Show and how formative and seminal and that becoming of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, I can't believe someone actually told me that. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's what the episode is about. When the girls meet 2 handsome medical students from Oshkosh while being interviewed for the local news about the Kennedy-Nixon election, they find themselves taking a bus all the way to the smaller town for a double date, and are then stranded at the bus station when they refuse to go back to the guy's apartment for one little drinky. With no one at home to rescue them, and no buses headed back to Milwaukee until the morning, they bed down for the night, and Shirley must wrestle with their guilty conscience and damaged dreams. Will they ever get to go home? What did you think?
Interesting. It's an idea that I wish I liked this episode more. We'll get to that more deeply, but it feels like there's a lot less going on than there is, and so it's easier to... It's almost kind of forgettable, sadly, despite some strong, interesting things. I mean, Christopher Guest is in this episode.
Yes, he is.
The six-fingered man.
Sure.
I mean, this is the guy who was one of the 2 Ford brothers in Walter Hill's The Long Riders, and we'll get to his buddy there, Tom Leopold.
Yes.
We'll get to that guy in a minute. But it's like I don't know. I didn't really connect with this one too much, even though there's some genuine good dialogue, and there's actually kind of a weight to as you were mentioning. Shirley has to kind of confront the fact that she just keeps falling into this daydream, and she even catches herself in this one, falling into the daydream, which I thought was really significant. But it just doesn't. It needs a weight. It needs something to hinge itself on that it doesn't quite get there.
I think I like this one a little bit more than you do, mostly because it's so strongly character-based. It's very much an episode about the girls and about the girls' dreams. On one hand, it feels kind of like it recycles a lot of material, and it tells us things we already know about them. And you feel like Shirley's revelation about herself is going to lead somewhere. And In canon, it doesn't, because of course it can't, because otherwise we would have no situation in our sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
No situation in our comedy would we have if she completely solidified this realization about herself. I think the trouble with this episode is that it is pretty heavily reliant on vignettes.
Yeah.
It feels more episodic than a flowing story. It feels kind of plotless in its own way. And you kind of expect it to lead somewhere, and it doesn't. I think that's its biggest fault, ultimately.
Yeah, structurally, it feels as if you have this strong, interesting setup with the opening that everyone's worried. You have the pace, like even the way Carmine and Edna are pacing, and the Frank at the window, and then the boys come in, and they're going, it's like they've been kidnapped. We got this ransom note. Pay up now or else. And Edna's like, I wrote that. So you have the mystery. You have the segment of them being interviewed on television about the Kennedy and Nixon election, which I love the idea that they politically on the opposite side of the medical students, but as soon as they know they're medical students, Shirley doesn't care, which I thought was a wonderfully Laverne and Shirley touch.
Yes.
And then there's the segment afterward. It doesn't just jump into them immediately, going to the date. Basically, we have to have this other, build up to the phone call, and then, all that. I don't think they actually reach the bus stop until I want to say like 7 or 8 minutes into the episode or something like that.
I think it's something like that. It feels like it's around there.
And I guess because of the fact it is a bubble episode, this is a bit of a strange pull, and I may have mentioned this to you when we were watching this, but
yes.
When I think of the bus stop as a bubble episode, the thing that came to mind is that I was recently introduced to the mirror image episode of The Twilight Zone, which is the doppelganger episode that inspired Us, where the woman begins to get these suspicious behaviors and things like that. And that's a really good, it all takes place inside the bus station episode.
Yes.
And it feels like, especially as you're saying, because it is character driven and it has to have this element of a flowing story, I wonder if it would have helped to have spent more time in the bus stop and to use that location more to give them more pieces of the world coming in, because it's interesting that they get there, relatively, I'd say late afternoon, so 6 in the evening, probably at the latest, right?
You have to remember the bus did break down and Laverne did have to help change that tire.
True.
So you got to factor that in.
That being said, the idea is that I guess what I mean is bus stations and bus stops, even in rural communities, are going to have people coming through all the time. It may close down at maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, but they're going to have buses again at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Having people coming in would have been interesting and exciting to see, there's, and almost not maybe metaphysically, but at the very least metaphorically, Shirley and Laverne getting to see reflections of themselves and the people that pass by. And you still have plenty of room for comedy because you can make them these exaggerated caricatures. But it feels like an idea that just isn't fleshed out for me.
It feels like it could have gone multiple different ways. You could have gone deeper into the political aspect. You could have examined more about the Kennedy and the Nixon election and the two of them having different opinions over it or something. Them being repulsed by Nixon, maybe them getting deeper into politics and realize, oh wow, he's a horrible person. It's not just that he looks terrible, it's that he's a horrible person. I would like to see that. You could have done all kinds of character stuff at the bus station. I think a lot of the dialogue there works, but I think there's some time wasted with them dealing with the station master, who they accidentally give a come on line to by mistake, trying to get money for the motel.
Do you know who the station master is?
No, I do not.
That's Carl Gottlieb.
Oh, I did not recognize him.
He will return later in the show as a director of a very important episode. I say with capitalization because it is a very important episode, because I know it's one you, Lisa, have told me about a lot. For those out there, the station master in this episode was a prolific writer through the 70s, including the first 3 Jaws films and The Jerk. So, yeah. But no, but back to the episode itself. I completely agree that as much as that was a good gag, a funny gag, it feels like time wasted when it's so character driven.
Yes. On the other hand, I would not give up that scene where they're sitting there talking about the difference between Shirley's dreams and reality, and how she should stop dreaming about that doctor husband, and yet shouldn't stop dreaming about that doctor husband. Everything about that conversation is beautifully handled. I mean, Laverne's like, yeah, you were stupid to think this, but there's a reason why you keep hoping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a reason why they drove this whole way, even if it was just to get dumped. And it's because Shirley wants to better herself. She wants to climb out of that suck hole, as we discussed in the previous episode, that is the Phoebe family look.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No more sailors, no more any of that. You know, she wants to finally climb the ladder of success. And in the end, she gets to keep her dreams. And in the end, they have each other. All of that is powerful and beautiful. It just feels like we have strong scenes, at least 3 strong scenes in this episode. And the middle parts of the filler that keep getting away from it, get in the way of it being as good as it could have been. So it's the filler that drags the episode down.
Agreed. Yeah, because I mean, I can even imagine, if they had used the bum, to have him actually have a discussion with them about dreams. Because I mean, this is a guy who's literally at the end. I mean, he's just, he's at the bottom, rock bottom. I mean, he's sleeping in a bus terminal. Yeah. And of course, and we mentioned in the previous episode, we find out who the bum was. That is Peter Aibling, as in that is Eric from How Do You Say Are You Dead in German, which makes me wonder if that's the sad possibility, if that's where his character went, that he's become such a bum they don't even recognize him.
Oh God, that would be so sad.
That would be
so sad. But he was also he would also be that customer that they had in the Diamond Dance joints.
Right. Yes.
Turning on them. So
yeah,
I guess.
I have one last thing to say about Peter, just about interesting connection about him and the show, and I'll get back to discussing the episode a bit. Think of this as a breather. Surprising connections. He has a part in Once Bitten, and he also had a part in Punky Brewster, which were both directed, and in the case of Punky Brewster, created by other alums of Laverne and Shirley. So I'm curious how the hell.
Oh my goodness! You saying that absolutely made me have a flash of his face acting during Punky Brewster, and I can't remember the episode he was in, but I bet you if I look up the name, I will remember exactly what he said and did. Because wow, that caused a strong memory flash. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I love that.
I did not remember that he was in that show until you just brought it up, and I am freaking amazed now, because wow. I think I know which episode he was. I'll look that up later, because wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But I mean, that's the thing though, is that, like, think about it. You have one of their best bit players on this show, who has done 2 other really great performances for it as this bum that you could have done something with. Yeah. And instead he's literally a prop. I didn't even notice it was him. I had the suspicion on the second time watching him. That's why I looked it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tragic case of underusage. They could have done something interesting with it. They could have done a lot of different things or more interesting things in this episode. Instead, it comes off as very chock-a-block. And in some cases, the chunks are very good chunks. The blocks are very good blocks. And I wouldn't give them up for all the tea in China. But indeed, we will get to that in a second. Yeah. I want to go back to the opening scene where we see Harry Shearer as a reporter. Christopher Guest becomes one of the girls' dates. Mm-hmm. As we know, they knew Michael and David from the before times of the show. That's how they became involved with the writing of the series. Harry Shearer was an apprentice writer for the whole first season. Christopher Guest would go on to play in Squigtones as a very, very, very embryonic version of Nigel Tufnell, who he plays in Spinal Tap, also with Michael McKean. And it's an interesting introduction for the 2 of them in a way. to the national viewing audience, isn't it? In their own way, even though they did other things for us.
Yeah. When it comes to, it's just always amusing though to me about whenever Christopher Guest comes up, it's like, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, for Spinal Tap and these other, projects he's working on. I always still think of Count Rugen and Princess Bride, and I think of him as him and his brother in The Long Riders, and it's just it's. I'm sorry, Chris. That's always going to be you in my eyes.
When you look at Christopher Guest in this episode, you can absolutely see the Nigel Tufnell in his face. When you think about it, you can absolutely not connect him in this episode back to Count Rugen. He looks like a totally different guy with facial hair. There's longer hair for some reason. I don't know why. Very handsome man, but a completely different dude. Every time I see that, I go, wow, he was Count Rugen. Wow.
Yep. So that also brings us to his I believe Larry here, although uncredited, is apparently played by Tom Leopold. And
yes.
So Tom Leopold would start as an actor only to end up becoming a producer for writer and as well as a writer for shows like Cheers and Will and Grace, which we have mentioned before, has a lot of connections to Laverne Shirley talent. So
yes, indeed.
Another little connection.
Yeah. I love that. I love how many people in the show went on to branch out and do other things in the sitcom world and other things in the filmmaking world. It's incredible. This show has more influence on the American popular culture spectrum than you think it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I know some of y'all have kind of forgotten it, because I feel like the show has kind of become less. It's kind of, let me phrase that. It's been pushed to the back of the American popular culture lexicon. Happy Days is still kind of there. And I don't know if that's because they rerun it more or it has a more prominent place in people's memories. But this show had so much influence on a generation of young women coming up who ended up becoming the Julia Roberts of the world. And and all of these women who took up comedy writing and took up directing and took up acting because of this show. It has much more influence on the world and on pop culture itself than you think it does. So this is a choice. This is a truth, folks. This is a truth.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's the we've discussed this before. We've discussed this on when we were collaborating on that Gary Marshall retrospective as well. Is that this is a Laverne and Shirley in some ways most specifically had this influence that sort of emanated this echo or ripple effect through the industry with regards to some of these talent. Sometimes even actors that would go on to become famous, but sometimes writers or directors, and that they influence a certain type of sitcom comedy that has really stood the test of time for decades and for decades now. I mean, the fact that some of them worked on like Friends and Frasier and and as we're saying, a lot on Will and Grace and things like that and of that nature. And then to have folks like Harry Shearer and Michael McKean and even Christopher Guest here and so forth. And then then helping Penny kind of get her big shiny moment that leads her to them becoming a director, which has influenced so many people, so many women, to become directors. And to just have that level of influence is powerful. It's interesting. And I almost kind of wonder if that's one reason I also feel that sense of disappointment, I think, with this episode, is because I see all these factors in there, like, this like should be firing on all cylinders, but like there is the filler in the middle that slows it down. And actually, when you think about it, you have 3 different setups that all get essentially interrupted, and that somehow leads inevitably to the bus stop, which I'll get to why I think that actually makes sense in a second. But it's like you have the where are the girls set up, which is nice and intense, and there's motivation and urgency, that's then interrupted by the television segment, which then creates the idea of the dates, which then creates the okay, now we know where things are going, and then that leads to them getting ready to go to the pool with the another joke I'm still surprised they got by the censors with that's how Wanda got pregnant.
God, I made a note about that.
Yeah, not even her father believes that.
Yeah.
And
I do.
And and then that is interrupted by the phone call, which leads to the date that then leads to the bus stop.
Yeah. As cute as a segment of them going to the pool is, I really feel like that could have been excised. It's almost a
Agreed.
time waster. They could have kind of jumped from the TV segment to them doing a voiceover on the bus saying that they got a call to go on a date with these dudes.
Exactly.
They could have just saved a little bit of time. But it is really adorable. The swimsuits are adorable. Shirley's little Raggedy Ann floaty device is adorable. Her little floater is adorable. Her inner tube. As cute as it is, it doesn't really need to exist in the episode. But yeah. But there is a lot of little fun stops along the way as we lead into that big scene in the bus station. Like Squiggy declaring that he likes Nixon because it reminds him of his dad.
Right. Which in 1978, that's an amazing line to do. It says so much about Squiggy.
Yeah. In season 7, we meet Squiggy's dad, and yeah, he does look a little bit like Nixon. Just a tiny bit.
Oh God. I did not know that was coming. Oh no.
That's
I have more things to dread now. I still can't believe I know somebody whose mother voted for Nixon.
I'm pretty sure my father voted for Nixon. He is a hardline Republican dude, and I just know that he did. I don't even have to ask him any questions. With him, I just know. But yeah, I was gonna say, for all the little cute moments that we get, it seems like we're almost treading water until we finally get to the bus stop. We're finally at the bus station. They meet up with these guys. It seems like they're nice guys, and they're going to take them out, and it turns out all they want to do is bring them back to the apartment so they can bang them.
Right.
And it's just wasted their time, because Shirley will not even make out on the first date unless you are Carmine Ragusa. So, I love that Shirley gently scolds Laverne not to act cheap or be loud. And that's ironically the kind of girl that they want, because they're scumbags. As I noted, scummy dates are scummy in my notes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I have.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I have to say, the guys, Greg and Larry here, they're a special kind of douchebag. There is a certain level to hear the story of why they were late on the bus, then to, be so selfish, to still want what they want, and then ditch them.
Yeah.
It's, God, wow.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I was a little frustrated, I think, with this episode, is I understand, Shirley's hardline perspective, and, this is good, but it's a case of where her dreams and the reality really get mishmashed to a point of where it's like, it's very, it makes her come off as horrendously immature for her age.
No way. But that's just Shirley, especially when she gets flanderized further down the line, when she just becomes this girl who will not explore certain options because she's still waiting for that doctor, and she has to be pure for that doctor, because otherwise she cannot get up the rungs of the social ladder.
Right.
That's just like...
And the thing is, I'm not saying that she needs to put out. What I'm saying is that...
Oh, yeah. I'm not even assuming you're trying to say that.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm just clarifying for the audience. I know
yes.
but it's for me, what it is that there's a certain point where she then has to, at the very least, be really. I guess what I mean is, she shouldn't have gone on the date in the first place. Without, because that's the thing. When you have a certain policy, you have to you make sure that the situations you're getting into, and I think that's the catch. She has this way of, flanderizing the perspective of what a doctor is or a medical student is, that they're dignified and all that. It's like, no, sorry, they are still men.
Yeah. She was almost raped by a doctor when she was a nurse.
Right.
The guy tried to ether her. It was like, she knows these guys have clay feet. They all got clay feet. They are just guys like everybody else. She can't seem to get out of that mental picture where he will provide stability for her. He will be a perfect man. Everything will turn out the way it does in a 1950s Debbie Reynolds movie. Everything will turn out the way it does for Sandra Dee. In her head, that's what's happening. It's like she's planning their double wedding. They haven't even left the bus station. Everyone will be wearing white.
Yep. And that's
That's
a,
their ad.
and I mean that's what makes, as you were saying, the conversation they have about daydreaming and about the what is it, the you didn't get your hopes up, all you lost was an evening of smut, and her on the other hand lost a 2-story home, 3 kids and a dog,
Yeah.
and then she's even and then like what kind of dog, and then she's visualizing that, and oh god, what's the line again? It was the collie or
Collie named Dave. It
oh
was
god.
Dave, right? Is Dave in this episode? Because almost always a collie named Dave.
Oh
This
wait, no,
comes
I
up
found my
again.
note. It's a collie or a sheepdog, and she comments, "Collies look better at station wagons." To the point that she's
That's right.
imagining what car even, I mean, certainly, and I mean, obviously, there's a logic to that. It's like 3 kids, yeah, you got a station wagon. Yeah, that's this is 1960 after all. So,
Yeah.
but anyway,
It absolutely comes up again, by the way, the station wagon dream, the collie dream, the kids. All this comes up in, I think, season 5 testing. Yes, the season 5 is testing happens. And the psychiatrist examining her points out, you have this lovely picture, but there's nobody in the house. There's nobody home. And she just
oh,
melts down as she realizes this. She has all of these dreams and all of these surface aspirations, but what's under the skin? What's this guy like at heart, at soul?
mm-hmm.
So, and she doesn't know. She just has the fantasy dream because she does not want to end up like Barb. She does not want to end up like Lily. She does not want to end up bitter and alone
Ugh.
and hectoring her own kids.
Yeah. Gosh, man, this took a really downer turn.
Yeah.
for a rather goofy episode.
Night after night goes dark.
Yeah. I'm working on crime stories
Alright.
all day, so that figures.
To bring it back on a lighter course of discussion, I was going to say I love the mental picture of Laverne just jacking a whole bus up by hand, apparently, and being the one who knows how to fix the tire and just helping everybody there. That's not only a funny mental picture, but it's absolutely something I could imagine her doing. It's perfect. Perfect for the character.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I just got caught up on the euphemism.
I wasn't being euphemistic. I was trying to be truthful.
No. You're being truthful. I'm the one who's getting stuck on the euphemism. You're doing it right. I'm doing it wrong.
Oh, your mind. Your dirty, sweet little mind.
Love you, honey.
Insert zombie joke here. I love you too. I was gonna make a zombie joke, but I said I'd make a zombie joke. But anyway, now we get to the dilemma of the girls being stuck at this bus station. These jerks have walked out on them. Literally snuck out. I mean, they're not even that sly. They literally sneak out when they realize these girls aren't going to put out for them. After Laverne jacked up a bus, insert joke here. I love the bit where Laverne has to call Carmine to pick them up. Shirley's just horrified. I can't go Carmine and ask him to pick me up from another man's date. This is beautiful. And then they almost accidentally get mistaken for hookers by the station master.
Mm-hmm. I had a quick note.
Just a writing choice.
I had a quick note about the Carmine thing. As much as I give Carmine a lot of crap, in this season he's definitely won me over a little bit more.
Yeah.
And given his behavior at the New Year's Eve party and how far he went for her and how far he does have a tendency at certain times to go for her, I honestly could see him, as much as, he would feel a little, sour about it. And I'm sure, surely be humiliated. He would totally be there in a flash. I could see him I could totally see him doing that. There's certain levels of BS I don't think he'll go to.
Yeah. Well, we'll see that as time goes on. We'll get there. He will go to certain lengths, or certain deep lengths. We will get there.
Mm.
But yeah, I love the line. A hotel or a motel, or even a Howard Johnson's. Would you like ice cream? And I bet you that reference is going to go over the heads of a lot of our younger viewers. Howard Johnson's used to be a hotel chain. I'm pretty sure maybe only a couple of them exist now. Used to be all over the country. Used to be well known for their ice cream cones.
Mm-hmm.
They had like 21 different flavors of ice cream before Baskin Robbins became a thing. But yeah, that was where that joke stems from.
I decided to look up if they're still around because I've seen they used to have a bunch in Portland when I was a kid, and sure enough, there is one by the Portland airport. You can stay there for $55 a night. It does not say if ice cream is included.
I wonder if they still serve ice cream. Viewers, if you're out there, you happen to know, tell us. All the ones in my
yes,
area.
Please leave a comment. Leave a comment below.
Leave a comment below.
Yes.
Like and subscribe. Back when I was a little kid, they definitely still serve ice cream. They had some really good pancakes. They actually had blueberry toaster pastries that were in the supermarket, in the freezer section, which are excellent. I grew up eating those. They don't make them anymore. They were really good. They were really good. They were like pancakes, a crust from a pancake and a muffin that you would stick in the toaster, and then it would pop up, and it would be warm and cakey and delicious. But to drag things back on topic.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, the girls' friendship is what rules. And that's always the most important message of Laverne Shirley. We get to see them lying head-to-head on a bench, and they realize that even though this is a disaster, they're together. They have one another. They're suffering through this as a unit. And they will always have that kind of sisterhood that they will be able to rely on most of the time. As I said before, season 8 gets awkward when it comes to that. But,
right. So it's for now, the oceans are calm when they are both at sea.
Yes, beautifully serene.
Yes. Also, I love Shirley's little prayer with the extra cherry on top for those medical students.
Yes. Strike them down with lightning. Strike them down with lightning, Lord. Strike them down with lightning. A lightning bolt right through them.
Yes.
I agree. Is all I can say. I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just hope that they have this weird string of bad luck for like the next 2 years and flunk all their classes, and they're like, God, what did we do?
Yeah. I hope they end up with giant herpes sores in certain places, but anyway.
Oh, whoa, okay.
If anybody deserves the herp, it's them. They deserve the herp.
Oh, that's
There are
great.
a couple of other characters coming up in the show who deserve the herp, but they definitely deserve it. They're the first set that deserve to wallow in crepulence forever.
Now, would you say that also includes the boys showing up afterwards and sneaking a kiss, a little slice of Prince Charming?
I'm amazed, that Lenny comes up with that idea. That Lenny kisses Shirley and Squinky kisses Laverne, which you almost never see on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they get beaten up for their efforts. Because, of course, they're going to get beaten up for their efforts. I don't even know what the heck they're thinking. In a way, it's sweet. In the other way, it's nowhere close to the level that they're going to end up at by the time Season 5, Season 6 rolls around. And, at third level, they probably know how far they can push it with the girls. And yet they're incredibly stupid to push it with the girls. Because they're going to end up with knuckle sandwiches planted right between their eyes after what they've been through.
Right.
Yes.
But that being said, Shirley does, realizing that it's them, she does give Lenny a hug. Like, okay, you're here.
Yes.
It's better that it's you than a stranger, and that means we have a chance of going home.
You saved us.
As that being said, I love that it turns out, of course, that Frank had to pay them $25 to get them out of there.
Yeah. Makes you wonder why Frank didn't go by his own recognizance. He didn't go on his own power and get into the girl's car and go rescue him.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's the way to shoehorn the boys more into the episode, but on the other hand, it makes more sense for him just to go down to the girl's apartment, which is down the street, go in the car, which he probably has a pass key for. He has to,
Mm-hmm.
Considering the connection between Laverne and her dad, he probably has a key to the car, considering the fact that he has helped pay for repairs, he probably does. He could have just driven down and gotten them himself, but he probably paid the boys because he had to watch the restaurant, so...
Right.
That makes sense. What's interesting is that they take $25 to do this favor for him, and yet they were going to file down Laverne's teeth for free. It's interesting the sliding scale of favors that the boys will do for free and require money to perform, like cleaning up the bathroom The pizza bowl, they want to get paid.
And it is
Yeah,
it is a 30-mile trip, so that's 30
Yeah.
miles each way. So that's 60 miles
Yeah.
total. So it could be the gas money that you figure is part of it.
Possibly. Gas was cheaper back in the early 60s. We haven't hit the gas crisis yet.
Yeah, but I mean,
Whoa,
and
neither.
the other possibility is that the only thing I'm wondering is if that they lied, that they didn't want to say they did it for free or nothing.
Yeah, true. True.
Which I would like to believe. I want to believe that is the case.
Yeah, true. That's very true. I like that for sure. Also, it's interesting that the girls are spending all this time calling Carmine and calling Laverne's father. Why did they call the boys? It's established that the boys have a phone. They just prefer to communicate with them via dumbwaiter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was just like, they could save themselves a lot of time. Those are tiny little plot holes that kind of pick this episode apart. Yeah. For all of its strengths, all of its weaknesses, it has strengths.
Yep.
For all of its weaknesses, it has strengths.
And it's unfortunate because also I have to say, as much as I give this episode a lot of crap, it has one of my absolute favorite tag scenes I've seen of the entire show so far.
Yes. It's beautifully handled, beautifully written, and beautifully staged. It almost works completely outside of the realm of this episode. It has nothing to do with what happened before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's perfect. It's beautiful. I love this idea of everybody just sitting around a hot summer day. For some reason, Lenny's actually playing Polish songs on his guitar. So he must know some kind of Polish, some level of Polish he must understand. If he's singing traditional folk songs with them. And
that is unless he's he's had them poorly translated through the generations, so he's singing
Possibly.
anglicized version of them that sounds worse because it doesn't rhyme correctly.
Possibly. That's very possible. Well, we know he has some kind of relationship with his grandpa, who told him all these stories about the Kozlowski family history, so that's a thing. So that might be where he got them from. He might not understand anything about what he's singing. He just knows in general what he's supposed to, how to play them, and what the feeling behind the words is supposed to sound like when you sing it. I love that everybody's just out there hanging around. Ed and Frank are just playing games. Carmine's, for some reason, thinking about baseball. And then he asks him, why are you thinking about baseball on a day it's hot? And he's sitting there in a jacket, which I love.
Oh, God, that's right.
And we see a rare, unleather jacketed Squiggy. He's sitting there in his t-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many details I like about it.
I love it. And the girls trying to get cold. Yeah. The girls trying to get cooler. Using the refrigerator, trying to fan themselves off. And then Laverne's saying, that chicken in there is more comfortable than we are. And that leads into Milwaukee Moon. Michael McKean did write the song. It's one of, I think, 3 songs or so that he gets solo writing credit on for the show. He also wrote The Look in season 6, which he and Penny performed. When we get there, we will enjoy it. He plays this song solo in acoustic on occasion at live performances. And and he wrote this whole thing, and it's a really nice little song, nice little performance. Everybody gets to sing together. And we get to see some hoofing.
Mm-hmm. Doobie doobie wah.
There's a nice cover of it, too, which we should append to this episode, you know. And then Edna and Carmine get to dance together, so we get some more Betty and Eddie. Tearing her rug up, which is really great.
In heels. In heels. My God.
Betty Garrett was a badass. We've established that before. We're going to say it again. She was so talented. And she could still dance like that into her 70s. She and Eddie danced together, actually in her 80s. She and Eddie danced together at the second show reunion show.
Oh my!
At
wow!
The second reunion show. Yeah.
Wow!
At the second reunion show, the two of them danced together. And then when it's over, she looks at the audience and goes, "Not bad for I think '84." So it starts at '82. But yeah.
Jeez.
She could hoof all the way into her 80s, and that's all you want out of life. One little background detail you can see when the girls get their close-ups during the song, is that you can see the mail slots, and you can see how they've written their names on their mail slot, which is the last one, bottom right. Edna's is next to them. And there are 6
I didn't catch this
apartments.
detail. I should Wow, okay.
And there are 6 apartments in the Knapp Street building. There are 6 apartments there. 6 different mail slots.
Hmm.
So, if you think about it, Carmine lives there in one apartment. The boys live in one apartment. Edna lives in an apartment. The girls live in an apartment.
So there's 2 unaccounted for.
So that's like 4. Yeah, 2 unaccounted for. One of them might be the writer, Jerry, who we know is a jerk. From all the way back in season 1 and season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Laverne was sweet on.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we're hoping just at some point he's, like any asshole writer of that period who just drinks himself to death after about 5 or 6 years.
Wow. That is another hope that guy pees fiery syphilis out of his dick hole. Dude,
oh my God. Whoa. And I thought I was being harsh. Holy cow.
As Clementine Johnson would say in Reno 911. I should look at that. I should look at that when she leads a group prayer. And she says, and Lord, make child molesters and rapists suffer and burn with fiery pee coming out of their dick holes. They suffer.
Oh my God.
All of it's improvised. It's great. Oh, it's marvelous. Shout out to Wendy McLendon Covey, who's a badass. But yeah. This is my favorite song that Michael Wright has written for the show. My absolute favorite is still The Look. But this is darn good. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Yep. It is a adorkable song, is what I would say. The whole scene is adorkable.
Yes.
And clearly shot at night because you can tell the lighting is so extreme. So they either shot it too late in the day that they had to light everything because the shadows. It gives this very like West Side Story soundstage look. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, the entire exterior of the Knapp Street apartment building is an outdoors exterior on the Paramount lot.
Mm-hmm.
So they were obviously outside in the out of doors at night when they were filming this. That exterior still exists, by the way, on the lot.
Ooh.
I don't know if you can see it on studio tours, but yeah, it is part of their downtown lot. And
okay, so let me just put this on my... All right, I'm get a piece of paper here. All right, let me just put this note here. New goal in life, film on Paramount lot to sneak Laverne Shirley street into splatter movie. Okay, good. There we go.
The only real thing I had to add was that somehow Laverne manages not to learn her lesson about putting her name on the wall of a men's room.
That confounded me a bit.
She knows what kind of horse shit she's in for, and yet she totally puts her name there. That's different from sending your number over to the naval base, tracking down some sailors.
Right.
Yeah, in this case, it's opening yourself up to all kinds of creeps. They've been through this. They know what it's like. They erase their names from another men's room wall. They're going to get worse men out of a bus station.
Oh, yeah. Far worse.
Far worse.
Yeah, a pool hall is bad, but a bus station, you get them from anywhere. You get traveling salesmen with suitcases.
Yeah. Oh, it's gross.
Anyway, but anyway, I mean, all in all, I mean, how are we ranking this one? I mean, it's got some weird ups and downs. I mean, this ended up going on, I think the discussion went on a little longer than I expected. So what are you thinking?
This is around for Milwaukee Moon in that last segment, for the opening segments, and for that discussion, cumulatively, this is around about 5.6 for me.
Okay.
Leaning closer to a 6, because those are all really strong scenes. This episode really suffers from a lot of padding, a lot of storyline seeds that don't really lead anywhere. But a lot of good stuff does stem from this episode. There are a lot of cute things that occur. There are a lot of great scenes, so it's still worth watching. It's just not the absolute best episode because of the disjointed nature of how the final product presents itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same. I feel the same. It's a very mileage may vary. I would give it around a 5.5. I would say really would hazard if I would go up to it. The only reason I would go up to a 6 is if I could look past a couple of the weaknesses, not just in terms of structure, but just like Shirley being a bit difficult, and a bit too simplified. Her characterization is so overtly simplified compared to the other characters in the episode. It's a little. It's grating, especially given that we've seen that Shirley can be a really engaging and rounded character and used well comedically and emotionally. So, and they do that. Just it felt kind of. I guess it feels kind of forced to make the point the discussion point, and just there's other ways it could have been done. So it's an episode that has really good ideas, but the execution could have been done a lot better with some both major but mostly just minor tweakings here and there. I think could have strengthened it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's almost incredibly good, but instead it's just good. It's decent. It's a decent episode.
To me it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. I guess that does that wrap all of the tings up?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much again for joining us for Night After Night. And if you would like to know more, you can find us on Night After Night PC on Twitter, or follow us at Night After Night Pod on Facebook or Tumblr, or even on the WordPress, even if you like. And we're also have these episodes up on YouTube, and we do a bunch of other different little social media things here and there. Just keep an eye out for us. And I think that's going to be it for us today. But Lisa, what are we doing next year? I got places to go, but I don't have a car and a license.
It's do or die time for Squiggy because he has to take a written test or lose his job and his driver's license. This is the driving test.
Cool. Well, I guess hopefully I'll have my own driving test by the time that episode. I'll have completed my own driving test by the time this episode goes up.
Knock wood.
Knock wood. We'll see. Anyway, thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and please don't leave your A, be worried about phrasing, and B, don't leave your name in restrooms and bus stops. That's dangerous. That's not safe.
Also, always say hello when somebody else says hello. That's the best way to communicate with others, according to Squiggy. I meant to mention that. I still think that's hilarious. Whenever somebody else says hello, he automatically says hello. That's still funny.
Nice.
Bye, everybody.
Laters.
Milwaukee Moon, when you're on the rise, I can see my baby's eyes, and she can hear my tune. Milwaukee